All right, so what we're going to do is a little demo for the lab for assignment 9. I'm going to go ahead and use the data in the assignment, but I'm going to alter the numbers so that you have to repeat the same process. So I'm going to demo the entire process, but it won't be the same answers. So please do not copy the answers from my lab demo as the answers for your homework. Please repeat these steps using the actual data provided in the assignment. All right, so looking at that, here's what we have for our lab for assignment 9. Okay, this content was the related t-test, and it says there's the study done looking at therapeutic approaches trying to increase weight for girls suffering from anorexia. So they looked at cognitive behavioral therapy, and they took weights before and after they'd gone through this treatment to see whether or not their weight had increased. We have a set of data here that we need to get into JASP, and we've got a series of questions that we're going to have to answer. So the first thing to do would be get the data into JASP. The best way to do that is probably going to be to copy and paste this into an Excel file. So I'm going to highlight my data, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to open an Excel file, and we're going to paste this data into Excel. Once we've done that, we can save it as a CSV, which will allow us to easily import into JASP. So here's a blank Excel file that we'll work with, and I'm going to just go ahead and paste in my data. Now, if you get a weird thing like this where it pastes in a long list, you can always go change those formats, and there's a couple ways you can do it. So if it doesn't want to fix, when you have it copied, go to paste special, and then just paste in the text. And now you see that it's formatted in a wonderful table, so that will be covered. All right, so once we have this is going to be your data. I'm going to change all these numbers so that I'm working with different data, okay? But you'll repeat the same process. All right, so I have a different set of data, but the same basic structure. So this is the kind of thing you'll be working with. We're going to go to File, and we're going to save this as a CSV for easy import into JASP. So I'm just going to save it on my desktop. As assignment 9, and I'm going to save it as a CSV file. So you can save it in any kind of general CSV file, should be fine for importing into JASP. All right, so we have the comma separated file saved. We should be able to close that, and now we should be able to go into JASP, and we can open our data where we saved it. So I'm going to find it on my computer under my desktop. There's assignment 9. We're going to import the data set, and it should look exactly like it did. So there we go. We have our data set ready to work with. So now what we want to do is we want to run the repeated t-test. So if we look back at our instructions here, we need to perform the appropriate t-test. So again, this is a repeated t-test because we measured the same people in 2 conditions, before and after treatment. But it's the same person being measured both times. So this is a related samples t-test with repeated measures. So we need to find the average weight before, the average weight after, the average change, and we need to report the results in APA format. So if we preview what the submission is going to look like, here's what we find. All right, there's the data set, and here are the questions. The average weight before treatment in pounds, after treatment, the average change. We're going to report the results, sample size, the t-test showed whether there was or was not statistically significant effect, the degrees of freedom, the t-value, the p-value, the r-squared value, and did or did not experience changes in their weight that were significant. All right, so we need to just basically get descriptive statistics and run the t-test. So if we go to t-test and we go to paired t-tests, our variable pair is going to be before and after. And the order you put these in will make the difference. So we have to pay attention to that when we get our test done. If you do after minus before, or before minus after. So right now this says before minus after, right? So we might want to think about doing this. Again, it doesn't matter, you get the same result, but if we do after minus before, if this is a positive, if we get a positive test here, it means that they weighed more after than they did before, because it's doing after minus before. Okay, so we get our t-test. We probably want to get some other things like the descriptives, all right? And so here with the descriptives, we're going to find that we get the means and the standard deviations split up by before and after. We also see the sample size. We had 29 people each time before and after, right? So that's what we want to see. So that's what we get when we get our descriptive statistics. Now, we also wanted to know the average change in weight. So we can get that here simply by looking at the difference between these means. And right now we're testing that the 2 points aren't equal. If you want to, you can do tests for things like normality. You can get plots of the descriptives, right? So it shows the after and before. Okay, so this is a nice way to visualize and see that they weighed more after than before. Of course, we see that this was not significant because the p-value is much greater than 0.05 in this case. You can again get effect sizes. So the effect size here, Cohen's d, is reported. And so all of these things give us what we want. Now, if you want to get the location parameter, which is what I got when I clicked this button, this gives you the mean difference, which was the last thing we were asked to report. By clicking on that mean difference, what you'll see is this number is going to be the difference between these two numbers, right? So if I open up my calculator, and I do 101.966 minus 100.759, I get 1.207. That's the mean difference. So that's the average number of pounds that was gained by the sample, right? So after treatment, girls gained an average of 1.207 pounds. So if I were taking this data to try to report this into my homework, I'm going to put these side by side so we can kind of look at them more easily. And I'm going to go across so we can get a larger picture of the data here. All right, so here are my questions. Okay, what was the average before treatment? So I'm going to say, okay, before treatment, the average was 100.76 rounded to 2 decimal places. After treatment, the average was 101.97 rounded to 2 decimal places. And rounded to 2 decimal places, the average weight change is 1.21. So I'm going to complete those based on what I've found here, the means and the mean difference. Down here, I'm going to say I had 29 girls in the sample. The t-test showed that there was not a statistically significant effect. The t with 28 degrees of freedom had a t-value of 0.454, 3 decimal places, so 0.454, and the p-value is 0.653, the 3 decimal places. The r-squared value is not what is calculated for us. Oh, bummer. So if you remember, how do we do r-squared? Well, r-squared is t squared over t squared plus df. So we can calculate that using Excel. You could also do it in a calculator on your phone. You could use my calculators that I built for you, whatever works. But I'm just going to use Excel here. And so it's t squared over t squared plus df. So t squared is 0.454 squared divided by, make sure you use parentheses, order of operations, t squared plus df. So when I do this, I get an r squared of 0.007. So I would come over here and I would put 0.007, and the sample did not experience significant changes in their weight. So I've just completed my quiz, right? That would be everything we needed to do for the lab, getting the data to Excel, from Excel to JASP, and reporting the results in Canvas. Hopefully that gives you an example and is helpful as you complete Assignment 9 Lab. We'll be back for the lecture covering ANOVA here soon. Please remember, I will say it one more time, these data are simulated data that do not match the data in your assignment. Do not duplicate my answers as the answers for your assignment. If you do, it'll just tell me you didn't actually do the work yourself. All right, so hopefully that helps, and we'll see you guys again soon.